This is the self-proclaimed Blue Dragon, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back, whichever is the case. This week is part 2, the conclusion to creating a Redbubble banner. This is the coloring part of the video. You can check out the first part. I'm gonna put a little iCard thing up in the upper right hand corner, and you can check out part 1 that way. You can also check out the Redbubble shop if you're interested. I will put that link below in the description. The thing that I'm using to color is the same program I always use, although that might be changing once we move. I'm going to try to, it's called Clip Art Studio now, but back in the day I bought hard copy version of Manga Studio, I think is what it was called. So I might be changing that up, but as of right now, I am using Photoshop CS5. And one other thing I wanted to note is that I do not have a digital drawing pad like the Wacom, or there's other brands too, I think. So whenever I'm making corrections, I will be using a mouse. So if you see me fumbling around, it's because even though I've been using a mouse forever, I'm still not all that. You can't get the right, the same angle as with your hand. I would like to get a tablet at some point, but right now it's not really in our budget, and I don't know that I'm ready for one because I do really I like inking traditionally. I like sketching. For the sketching and inking both, I find that to be word of Wednesday. Therapeutic, not that big of a word, but whatever, I'm desperate this week. But I do find it to be very relaxing, and it's something that I like to do. It's always been my go-to for relaxing, and I do like to challenge myself, which I do challenge myself in this video. I'll talk about that a little later on. But not for like the drawing aspect of it, but I challenge myself in a coloring aspect. The one thing I don't like to do when I'm drawing is I don't like to use a ruler, which is a shame because most of the effects that I am trying to produce on my own require a ruler. To this day, and I've tried so many times, I can't produce that flash effect like you see in manga, and you probably see it in Western comics, although it's a little different in Western comics. In the Japanese comics, I'll flash up an example of that on the screen here. I've tried to do that with a thumbnail, a thumbtack, excuse me. I've tried to do that with a thumbtack. I've tried to do it just using an X on the paper. I've tried to do it with technical pens. I've tried to do it with my Sanji pen with the Sanji nib. And I can't do it. I can do the focus lines okay, but I can't do the full flash where there are blackened out parts. It always looks unnatural, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I do have some videos. I'm gonna put an iCard link from one video that I'm gonna try to use again. I used it before, but I still messed up. At any rate, I do like the challenge of doing new things, even though it's also my go-to for being relaxed, but I also still want to challenge myself, so I guess I'm not relaxed in that aspect. However, I don't like using the ruler, mostly, not so much with the technical pens, but definitely with the ink and nib, because it's so easy to mess up, and then the ink gets everywhere if you don't have it angled just right, or you can smudge it yourself just by not paying attention. So I'm not a very careful person, and I'm working on that. Bodily wise, I try to be careful with other things, but anyway. So I also in the past have not been too fond of using a ruler to do the backgrounds, but as I work on improving my ability to draw buildings and other inorganic objects, I have been pushing myself and forcing myself to do more backgrounds, houses, buildings, things of that nature, both in a combination of hard copy and doing it on the computer, because I can get a straight line without any problems. And whenever I scan it in, for some reason, if I scan, my scanner is really, you can choose how many DPI it scans in it, and I usually do 500 DPI, and even though it looks really smooth when I draw it, a lot of times when you get in really close to the ink, it's so sensitive that you can see all the jaggedy edges. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. If anybody has any suggestions, comment below. But anyway, by the time you pull out, by the time you zoom out the image, By the time you zoom out of the image, you can usually not see that anyhow, so it's okay. It's okay. Don't mind me. My mind's always in the gutter. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about color. I said I was going to get back to that, and that's kind of the main focus of the video today. In the past, I haven't been the best at choosing color schemes. For my comic, specifically, when I do, like, what I generally do is I just use colors that I feel look good together, or I color things the way I think they should be colored, like in the natural world. But I do think about how colors match, or like characters, what colors would look good for their clothing, but I don't usually think about color theory so much. I just, like I said, I take the colors that I think look good together, and that's what I use. But, or like if I do something like a wallpaper, or the Neko girl that I did a couple weeks ago for the video, which I turned into like a background, a wallpaper for my patrons. I do specifically use a reduced color palette, such as like black, pink, different color pinks, and white, I think, was another color I might have used in that. I don't know. I'll put up the image so you can see what I did. So it's not that I don't ever think about color combos, but I don't generally think about color theory for the splash pages or the double page, the 2-page spread color images that I do in my comic. Like, I know somewhere in the back of my mind I'm thinking about it, because as I say this, I think, well, actually the color combos in some of those look pretty good. I'm thinking about when I first when in Act 4 that has not been revamped yet, which is going to get a revamp and a flip. It's going to be flipped left to right. But I did like the orange and red and yellow color scheme I used behind the creature in Ren's Dream. And for those of you who don't read Dark Horse, I'm talking about my comic Dark Horse, link down in the description. I'll be talking about the characters in a few minutes anyway. But yeah, so I do think about the color scheme, and a little bit, and probably subconsciously, but here I really wanted to challenge myself and have color be the forefront of what I was thinking about. I guess if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make any sense. That's the story of my life. But I did take color theory into consideration this time, and I will link the video that I watched. Now, I know about color theory because years ago I did take classes. I had design classes. But if you don't use it, and if you're, I'm extremely out of practice. So even if you take a class on something, surprise, surprise, college me, you're not going to know everything about that subject just because you took one class in it. You're going to have to study and keep studying, and you're always learning. Anyone, if it's a continuing process, you should, or I feel, one's life should be encompassing continued learning, even if, you're out of college. There are other ways to learn now. So, that said, don't believe everything on YouTube. Don't believe me. Don't believe the truth. It's an Oasis album. But anyway, yeah, so at any rate, I at one point in my life, I did have this taught to me, but I was never able to really implement it very well. And to be quite honest, I mostly was taking ceramics when I was in college, so I've kind of veered off the path that I'd taken back then. But as your requirements to graduate, you had to take the basic courses, so anyway, the video that I used to kind of be a refresher for me, I'm going to link to that. Nothing that I link to is ever sponsored, and these people have no idea I exist. I'm just showing, since I'm not a teacher, I don't know anything. I like to send people off to what I personally use to improve myself. So you can go visit that chick's website if you like, or that person. I will be respectful because she is a human being. You may visit her website if you like. Okay, so anyway, when I knew right away, before I even started this image, like before I even sat down for the sketch, I knew that I wanted it to be gradated. I wanted the background to have gradation, and I wanted the image itself to encompass that as well. So whenever I was drawing this, I did come at it with an idea that I wanted, like with her hair kind of spanning the whole page. I did that hair that way specifically because I knew I was going to have the gradation going through her hair. And the banner had to be that long anyway. You can learn more about the dimensions and all that in the part 1 video. So when I designed it, I did take that into mind, and I also wanted it to have kind of a diagonal to it. I mean, it's not the best diagonal because you've got the word and you got Odysseus, that's the character, the dragon. You got Odysseus kind of floating there, but overall, I wanted the image to have a diagonal, and I wanted it to have the gradation. So what I did was I also knew that I needed blue to be in the color scheme because, surprise, surprise, that's my favorite color if you couldn't tell. But I wanted to make sure that the colors matched each other, so what I did for this one, and instead of doing something like a split complementary, which is what I did in the Green Man video, see, sometimes I think of color theories. Occasionally, I will go at something with a plan, but with this time I decided to do cool colors, and I wanted it to be an analogous color scheme. So I picked blue, kind of a dark teal, and purple, which are kind of some of my favorite color schemes. Actually, when I was a kid, like, my 3 favorite colors to use, I thought this was so creative when I was a kid. But I would take the turquoise, the fuchsia, and I think it was green, and I would hold those 3 crayons together and draw really bulky, stupid looking things, and I just thought that was the best color combination ever. And then when I got a little older, my favorite color combos were blue, purple, and black, you know, the color of bruises. What's that say about me? But now anymore, I mean, I've still got blue as like my favorite color, but I've expanded into liking other color combos. Yeah, when I was a kid, I told Mom I made up this color, and I just held those 3 crayons, and I was like, yeah, look at me. Gosh, I was a stupid little kid. Anyway, let's get back on topic. So that's how I picked these colors. I did an analogous color scheme of blue, teal, and purple, a shade of purple. The only really exception on that is Rin. She's the girl whispering, the character whispering into my ear, which is also kind of weird. This whole image is kind of weird when you think about it. But I did give her a tie-dye shirt because she's kind of the hippie chick in the group. I may go back and change that at some point, but I did try to desaturate the colors, and I think I put an overlay of one of the other colors to give it a little bit more of a hue that would match this page. That's the only exception, is there, I mean, if you look closely, it is kind of yellowish green, even though it's got like the hue over it. Everybody else's shirt kind of fits in with the scheme. Yeah, I probably should, as a refresher, or to people who are just joining in and don't read Dark Horse, I should probably talk about who the characters are. The main person here is my own persona. It's a personification of myself. But the way I have it drawn, you can't see the dragon horns or the wings or anything, so I just look like a normal person with glitter on their face. Anyway, so that's the main person in the image. Since it's for Redbubble, I decided to do a kind of self-portrait, kind of. And then the first characters I mentioned, from left to right, it's Rhiannon, and then the dragon is Odysseus, the guy tangled in the hair is Oisin, and then the chick hanging out on the wave of hair, just chilling, is Kana, and those are all main characters in Dark Horse. Although you haven't really seen much of Oisin yet, he is going to be in Oisin. I like to say Oisin. I guess probably the correct pronunciation is more Ocean. I don't know. I'm not Irish, but I love the name. I love the character. Man, that should be a video. I'll get into that some other time. I can't sidetrack myself, although I got time to talk. I mean, this video is kind of long. Longer than most of my videos. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on that? If you think it works, let me know. If you don't think it works, let me know. One of the biggest problems I did come across when coloring this was what I was gonna do with the letters. I tried a couple different combos. I tried to do the gradation first. That didn't look very good because you could hardly see the lettering. So I decided to try something else. When I had actually sketched it, I had darkened some of the letters, so I tried doing the letters each in different colors, and again, I didn't think that looked very good. I thought it chopped up the words too much, so I settled on having each individual word be its own color that still fit into the scheme. I think the tinting and shading, I might have added a little bit more of a tint to the letters in some cases than the main color that I used, but I wanted it to all still be in the same family. I might have even made the blue a little darker, maybe added some, darken the value on that, but I don't. You'll watch. You're the ones watching it, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just listening to me. But I did come across a little bit of a problem with the letters. I think they ended up looking okay, just having the solid letters so that each word is boom, boom, boom. There's no confusion there on what the words are. But if you have suggestions on how that could be improved, or an idea that might work, put that in the comments, because like I said earlier in the video, I'm constantly trying to learn and improve on my skill sets, so I would like to learn more, and I'm sure there's a lot I can learn from you guys, so put those comments down below, please. This video is a bit longer than my usual video. Next week, ideally, we'll be back to the roughly 10-minute videos, because this was such a big project, and as I mentioned in part 1, I wanted to record and show the entire process. That's why this ended up being a little bit longer than the other videos. But next week, I think that we're going to be returning to closer to 10 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever. I go a little over sometimes because I ramble. Yeah, I thought I'd go into detail about my thought process with the color scheme and everything. That was kind of the impetus behind all of this, in this video specifically, because I don't think I talk too much about color. I just kind of boom, 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 color things. and again, don't think that this is a tutorial or anything. Like I said, I've linked to people who are more talented than I am, so go to those pages, and if you want to learn something, this is just kind of showing you how I fumble through life and through things. But I think I'm gonna have to wrap up this video, so I guess the question of the week is, what are your personal favorite color schemes? Do you have any? What's your favorite color? Otherwise, if you don't do art, that's perfectly fine. You might just be watching this video so what's your favorite color? You can still have an opinion on that, whether or not you are creating anything from it. Everybody expresses themselves in different ways, and I'd like to hear what your opinions are on that. Comment below. If you like the videos, please like it. And subscribe if you're interested in seeing more. If you want to get notifications, there's a bell button you can hit, because they gotta make this process involved for people. I mean, it makes sense though. Maybe you want to be subscribed to someone, but you don't. Maybe they upload a ton of videos and you don't want it flooding your box. I don't know. I guess there's an idea behind that. Who am I to criticize? I don't know. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for popping in this week, and hope to see you next week. Peace and love, and keep on trucking.